Drums, please.
Hey everybody, c.note here, and welcome to DOPEamine, the show that is all about mental health empowerment. Today on the show, we're going to do something a little bit different today. I'm actually going to be talking to parents of INTPs, parents of young INTPs. So if you've got kids who are INTPs, or maybe one that is an INTP, this video is for you. Now, if you are an INTP used to seeing INTP videos for you on this channel, don't go away. You're actually going to be very vital and useful to this video. So if you have some stories of what it was like for you to be a kid as an INTP and how to get support from your parents, I want to talk more about the positive ways in which a parent can actually encourage INTP growth as a kid. So if there are things that have happened to you as a kid that your parents were really helpful with, or you had a teacher or a coach or someone that actually really encouraged your natural skill set as an INTP, I want to hear your story in the comments below to give other INTP parents some support in how they can encourage their INTP kids to be themselves and be their best selves, but also to contribute to the family or to contribute to, to taking pictures at Christmas and stuff like that, right? So the reason that I'm doing this video is because there were two different sets of parents that came to me at some point and asked me about advice for their INTP kids. Like, what would help? Really, the two situations were what would help an INTP kid to be more involved in the traditions of the family, meaning taking pictures together. It was more of an ESFJ parent, and they wanted their kid to come take like Christmas photos with them because it's really important to them that they do that. And then there was another situation where an INTP kid was just not really helping around the house, and just they wanted to get the INTP kid to get involved in chores and actually contribute to the family. So in both of those situations, it's really about respecting the autonomy of the INTP kid. Because INTPs, we really love to do things at our own pace. So when there's things that are external expectations, external requirements, that can be very stressful to feel like, A, someone could walk in your door and interrupt you in your thought process at any time, and B, that you simply have things to do that are not things that you don't want to do. So INTPs, we want to do what we want to do, and that doesn't change. From kids to adults to what the Scottish would call wrinklies, old people. When we're older, we're going to, want to still do the same thing. We're going to do what we want to do. And as INTPs, as kids, I think it's important to respect that desire for autonomy, but also there is a balance, right? Because the kid needs to contribute. The kid needs to feel like they're a part of the family. And there's a part of them that wants to. But it's a matter of doing it on their own timetable in a lot of ways. And really it's really about keeping them accountable at checkpoints and having communication about when those checkpoints are. So if it's a situation where you have some chores for them to do, and you have like a chart or something like that, and it's really about, if you give them tasks to do, let them do those tasks at their own pace. It's not like stop what you're doing and go do it now, but you have to give them a deadline or give them a point in which you're going to check in with them. So let's say you have a chart of chores for the week, and really the chores need to be done by like Saturday, let's say. And if they don't get it done by Saturday, then they can't, maybe they can't do certain things or play video games or something like that, right? But rewards always work better than punishments anyway. So I would recommend that, first of all. But second of all, if you give them the room, you say like, hey, this needs to be done by Saturday, so do it when you can. Or if it's something like take out the trash, it's like, I'd love the trash to be taken out. Can you take it out by noon, please? And if you haven't done by noon, I'm going to come in and bug you and check in on you about it, right? So any INTP kid that's smart, that's going to use their own logic, is saying like one of two things. Either A, I'm going to get it done right away, or B, I'm going to do it once they tell me to do it at noon, and then it'll get done. Apologize for that. So the INTP kid needs the room to make the choice of where this chore falls into their internal slot of tasks, because we have, as INTPs, a ton of tasks in our own mind, a lot of experiments we're running, a lot of things we're thinking about. That's why your INTP kid's room is probably a hot mess, because they're experimenting. It's their laboratory. They're playing with things. They're trying to figure stuff out, right? Hand motions for days, and being able to give your kid space to think and dive deep into their thoughts is really the best way that you can nurture their development as an INTP. But also making sure that you're holding them accountable is also good. And make it something, that's fun and interesting. You could do something that is, like I said, a reward system is usually helpful. If you know that there's something that they really like to go to and enjoy, you could have those points gamify and lead up to something, right? So if they collect points over 6 weeks of doing certain chores, then they can, if they really like baseball, you can take them to a baseball game, right? Something like that, depending on the situation. So really, it's a matter of allowing your kid to have the room that they need to do what they want when they want, but also making sure that you're holding them accountable for the things that you need them to do, like the chores and stuff like that. But the most important thing is that the accountability is contractual, that it's something that you agree upon, that you're not going to just randomly interrupt them and just like knock on their door suddenly angry, because that's been my situation when I was a kid. Suddenly, there would be this just like seemingly random desire for me to do something out of nowhere because there was pressure building up personally for a parent, right? But if there's agreed upon discussion that says like, hey, 2 p.m. on Saturday, I'm going to check in with you on this, and this is not done. This equals this, this, and this, right? But the time in between, you got to leave them alone. You got to leave them alone. That's the hardest part, I know. But if you can leave them alone, leave them alone. Don't bug them about it. They know. It's in their head. There's a list. We got a list. But if there's an external sticker chart or something that's in the house, that's another way to like keep the external accountability. But again, if it's something in between those times, then there's going to be this like disconnect of logic where it says like, well, you said that I had to do this by Saturday, so I could do this on Friday at 11 p.m. and it's done. Honor that. And it's kind of about honor in a lot of ways. And then when it comes to like taking family photos, for example, it's kind of about having the discussion with the INTP to let them know that you understand what they think of it, and you ask them questions and let them talk, but then also explain your side of it as well. So if you ask the question of like, why don't you want to join us for family photos? And the INTP kids say like, I don't know, I just don't want to do that. I've got stuff I want to do. It's not what I'm thinking about. I don't really care. It's not important to me. And it's important to sort of say that back to them, meaning like to acknowledge it, not to dismiss it, not to say it's like, well, it's not fair that you don't care and like you don't love me and like all this stuff, right? It gets like hyper emotional, and that's not going to work, right? If you've got an INTP kid, just say like, okay, that makes sense. I understand that you think this is stupid. I understand that you think like this is not something that makes sense for you. And I totally get it. But it's really important to me, and it's really important to the family that we include you, and we want to include you because we think you're a part of you're a part of the family, and we want to celebrate this with you. It's not something you have to do a lot of things for. It's not something you have to do exactly perfectly. Just join us. Like if there's like matching outfits, it's like it doesn't have to look exact. Like let them have a choice of their individuality if they have an option, right? So if it's like between this shirt and this shirt that they can wear, let them pick. We like making choices as INTPs. So if they have that opportunity to pick something and be a part of it, that's another way that they can be a part of it. So it's really just like acknowledging the INTP thought process, I think, is really powerful in any circumstance, really, for an INTP kid. Really respecting the space that we want and need. And I emphasize need. We need that time to really like dive into thinking about the world and the universe and all these crazy meaning-making stuff, meaning-making things that we do. Run the experiments that we run in our rooms, right? And if you need INTPs to contribute and do something, just make sure it's agreed upon, that it makes sense to them. Like, hey, you live here, you're part of this family, we want you to contribute, we want you to, and try not to just make it a mandate, right? Not just be like, well, you live here and you've got to do it, right? Like any version of because I said so is not gonna do it, right? It's not gonna make sense. And it's really about finding something that makes sense to the INTP kid. So again, if you're an INTP that's watching, an older INTP that has had maybe some success either raising other INTPs or having positive situations with your parents or coaches or anything like that have nurtured you as an INTP, leave your stories in the comments below for parents to be able to learn and listen to what it means to be an INTP and actually nurture and honor that. While also, making the INTP feel included in the family and making sure that, mom and dad or mom and mom or dad and dad doesn't feel left out, doesn't feel like their kid doesn't care and their kid doesn't appreciate them, right? So just be honest with each other, be direct, talk in a way that makes sense, hold the kid accountable, but stick to that timeline that you agree upon. Don't rush into their room unexpectedly and break their train of thought, because that's frustrating. A lot of people make a joke about like ripping the controller out of the kid's hand and it makes them angry and it's like, video games are bad. It's like, no, you're interrupting their train of thought. That's what's bad. That's the part that's frustrating. So be respectful to that process of continual train of thought. And then you'll get the best things out of INTPs possible. They'll want to take care of you. They'll want to do everything for you. And if you honor them, they'll honor you. That's how that works. And I know you might want it to be a different way as your personality type, but that's just not how life works, especially as a kid. The kid's just going to operate how they operate. So it's up to you as a parent to adapt to their needs, to nurture their needs. That's why we have kids in the first place, so that they can be better than us, so that they can grow and we can nurture them and really encourage them to be themselves, push them out of their comfort zone sometimes, but not force them to be what they're not and create this tension and stress. So if they're quiet, don't do this thing where you're just like, why are you quiet all the time? Like, don't, just let them be. It's fine. They're kids. They're thinking, they're not weird, they're not broken. They're just doing their thing. That's part of what it means to be an INTP. We're contemplative, we think a lot, we're a little weird, we run experiments, but we'll be supportive, we'll be caring, we'll be loving if you just honor who we are. So I hope all of that makes sense as advice for parents of INTPs. If you have questions specifically below, you can do that. And I also offer coaching. So if you're a parent that needs some help understanding your kid, you can go ahead and sign up below for some coaching one-on-one with me, or to get a profiling session done for you. I can't really do profiling sessions with children. It's a little harder. So if you just kind of happen to know that your kid's an INTP, then this helps. But there are resources out there to kind of get a sense of your child's type. And if you want to try to do a coaching session to learn your kid's type, we'll do the best that we can. But I'm less so guaranteeing results than if I were to do it with an adult. Does that make sense? So with all that being said, that was a lot. This is a long video. I gotta go eat something. I gotta go live my life. So I appreciate you guys. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I'll catch you next time on DOPEamine. See ya.